Blade fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and you want to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. We're also sponsored by VMB AUTOCENTRE. All the details, if you want some decent deals on your vehicle, get sorted with VMB Autos. Thank you to them for their ongoing support. And obviously, you know that our pre-match bar is Triple Point Brewery, and I thank them for their support as well. So, not been on for 2-3 days. Have managed to pull some things together. Not a major update. It's just keeping people posted on what's happening, this basically, or what we know so far. So, but before we get into that, can we just have a moment, because the championship season is now over. We know the full 24 teams that are going to be in the league now next season. We know everybody who we're going to play. And that now, believe it or not, and I know a lot of you won't believe this because the Premiership's worse for them not being in it, but Leeds will again be in the Championship for another season. And I just thought we could take a moment of silence just to reflect on Leeds' Premier League status. That's that done. Thank you very much. Cannot wait to play those entitled. Winds me up. It's going to be worse than the actual Steel City derby, that for me, playing them. But, you know, we roll, don't we? Because can't stand them. To be fair, I quite like how they attack games sometimes, but some of their fans, who are mates of mine as well, don't get me wrong, just absolutely wind me up. So, yeah. Them going to walk the league, and I've already seen some fan channels saying we're gonna walk the league this coming season, all this sort of stuff. Can't stand them, cannot stand them. But look, we're not a channel that talks about other teams. I just wanted to get that out there, give them their due respect for a Premier League that's stuck in the doldrums of the Championship. A Premier League club like that, such a huge club. Ridiculous. Nobody's entitled to anything. You're as good as, you know, Ipswich deserved everything they've got this season, and fair play to them. So, what's been happening in the world of Sheffield United? Well, the last time we got together, we were talking about the wheels starting to turn on potential takeover. It had started in the news that potentially an American consortium had sort of turned up their interest in Sheffield United. It's one from over a year ago, we believe, where they were in talks initially just as we were going up to the Premier League, and then it died down slightly in terms of talk of takeover. You can only assume that the price coming down with relegation has piqued their interest again, because we believe, and this has not been confirmed again, but we believe it's the American consortium from Silicon Valley. And the latest reports, I am here again prepared with this. I said that, but I haven't quite got it up and ready to read out, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it anyway. So, just so people know, and this is only my personal opinion, because some journalists, you can take them or leave them. Peter O'Rourke, isn't worth the keys on the board that he taps on, because I think he talks a load of rubbish. You can tell it's always secondary information, and he just has a pop. And again, that's my opinion. David Ornstein, for me, is the Man City of journalists. If he reports something, then I believe it to be almost nailed on. Fabrizio Romano, a lot of people talk about as being very, very good as well. But John Percy has today released an article in the Telegraph, who is also very credible. Not quite Man City, not even an Arsenal this season. Maybe a Liverpool has hit the heights in the past, but he's now not, you know, I'm not saying he hasn't had a good season this season because I don't know him personally and I haven't kept up, but he's not a big hitter. His article, though, so he's credible in my book. I think this is a credible journalist for the Telegraph who today reports Sheffield United takeover close as the American consortium submit EFL approval. A deal for the club will be worth north of £100 million despite relegation from the top flight last season. And then he goes on to say, the American consortium attempting to buy Sheffield United have submitted their plans to the EFL for official checks before their takeover at Bramall Lane. Negotiations have progressed between the Silicon Valley-based private investors and Sheffield United owner Prince Abdullah over a sale worth more than £100 million for the relegated club. Sources are positive over a deal being done after talks were accelerated over the last week. It's understood that members of the consortium have travelled to England as they attempt to close the deal with due diligence completed on the buyer's side. So they've done the due diligence. They have submitted their approval request to the EFL. How far down the road are we with this? This sounds like it's all... I mean, we've been here before. Evening Dozy. We've been here before, and it's not got through the EFL ratification, thank goodness, because obviously that would have been proven to be a negative deal for the club, shall we say, with all due respect to all parties. Plans have gone to the article continues. Plans have gone to the EFL, who conduct an owner and directors test. They also ask potential owners for future financial information about their plans for the future and proof of funds. That's a regular requirement of anybody looking to buy a club. It's part of the fit and proper test. And as I understand it, that's how it is anyway. There is confidence that the final steps will be completed and the new owners can assume control over the summer. The Capital Investment Fund were interested in Sheffield United a year ago, but a deal was not completed, with the takeover reviving following relegation from the top flight. The Capital Investment Fund were... Oh, what is going on here? Were interested in Sheffield United a year ago, but a deal wasn't completed, with the takeover revived following relegation from the top flight. It's understood that there was confusion here to this next bit because there's some concern with it, maybe even for the future if they're to come in and be our owners, which it looks like there's a strong chance they could be. It's understood the potential new owners have been looking at player options for the summer in the transfer market, with Chris Wilder's squad losing a raft of first-team players, which we know about, after finishing bottom of the league. It's been on. They've also appointed an English-based technical advisor, not technical director, technical advisor to liaise with the potential deal. So that's about getting the takeover completed, not players coming into the club, not a technical director above Wilder or anything like that. But the concern for some people, and a valid concern, is how are these players looking at, how are these people looking at player options when they're not even in the club at the moment? They're not even, it's not even been confirmed that this is exactly what's happening and it's going to take place. It's delaying our activity when we've already noted how important this summer is. Having said that, a takeover with a financial boost and something that's going to give us a more stable platform moving forward, does that supersede any of those concerns? Because some may say yes. I know we might miss out on one or two targets if we're slow off the mark, but would you rather wait if we're going to have another 20 million in the kitty? And that's just plucking figures out of the air, but it's stuff to think about, isn't it? After the latest negotiations, there is positivity over a deal being struck. Telegraph Sport revealed the original source interest a year ago. Quoting a source, they're a Silicon Valley-based capital investment fund looking at options, potentially in the Premier League at that time. Should the new consortium be successful, this is last bit now, in gaining control of the club, they would add to the number of American owners in English football. We don't care about anyone else. And that's about it, really, because they're going to talk about other clubs that have got American investment. So, a lot to digest there. It's the Telegraph, and John Percy, who I've said before is credible, not quite David Ornstein levels for me, but very credible, is saying that there's legs to this, and they're confident that it's close. That would, to me, explain the delays on action so far, including the retained list, which we did a video about in terms of where is it, where's it been, what's happening. Well, if they're having a say on players coming in, and they've got the old Bournemouth scout working with them, haven't they? Is it Dennis Taylor or something like that? That's working with them. But a joke that we did it, Ramblers chat that I'm thinking about now. But they are, it's a risk, isn't it? It's a risk because we might have had a list drawn up of players within our budget to go for, and hang fire. That budget might change, or we don't like that player, or I want you to sign this player. It's very dangerous to sort of be interfering with that. And you wouldn't think, if that's happening, and that is all speculation, but it would sort of fall into the puzzle. You wouldn't think that Wilder would stand for that, because as much as obviously he may, like a lot of us feel, is quite lucky to have landed back in the Sheffield United job in a lot of ways. I think we're lucky to have him as well. But he's still a man of principle, and I don't think he'll be told necessarily who he's got to sign. He must have a say in some of this. And he might be on board, as far as we know. It might be a case of, actually, yeah, that player I was going to go for is good. But if you're telling me I'm going to have X to spend, then let's go for him instead. He's on my list. So just to sort of balance this out a little bit, some people have speculations run wild with some people, as you'd expect. And that's part of the excitement for me. And the first person I've seen linked today in terms of who could be part or leading this consortium is Google CEO Sundar Pichai. Pichai? Sorry if I've butchered his name, but, we don't know how to say it anyway. So he is as I said, the Google CEO, and he's worth over $1 billion or close to $1 billion. And for me, I don't think that's part of the plan, if I'm honest. I can't see it. I don't know whether we've just plucked his name out because he's a rich man that's, likes his football, or I don't know where the link has come from, but I think it's probably Unitedites piecing together as much as they can, and more wishful thinking than anything else. But we'll see. Darren Smith, friend of the channel, who we've had on a lot, and I know tries to keep a low profile, but he does get pestered for information, and we're very grateful for it. He shared an article which details a change to the EFL ruling in terms of what you need to do as part of your takeover now. Before, you could agree a takeover subject to the EFL checks. Well, that's no longer the case. And he's linked his article in his tweet, but the way that he articulates it around it to explain to layman's like me is, for those wanting to know if the EFL requesting approval means the takeover is agreed, please see the attached, which I haven't got, obviously. The days of sale being agreed subject to EFL approval are now gone. Now it has to be submitted while negotiations are still ongoing. It basically runs in parallel, so it has to be started earlier than it would have been before the rule changed last summer. It's clearly a step forward, he says. Nobody would submit approval if the two parties were not in the same ballpark, but nobody is counting the US dollars quite just yet. Fair. And he's also poured a bit of cold water on Sundar, our Sundar Google CEO. So, no, he's saying, no, it's not an individual, it's an investment consortium. Carl Herrick's gone on to ask him, nothing will happen for the next 2 months then. How would that affect our biggest transfer window for a long time? And in Darren's opinion, I don't think it will make much difference. The club was going to be self-funding this window. If buyers are confident they will agree a deal with Prince Abdullah and also think they'll get EFL approval, they can always top that up before completion. So it's agreed in terms of things are moving forward, aren't they? And it's exciting. I am slightly apprehensive isn't the right word. I just always think it's careful what you wish for. My ideal scenario is, and this isn't just for personal gain, it's because I think it's good for continuity, and it's a sensible thing to do, would be for Prince Abdullah to retain an interest in the club. Now, I don't know how everybody feels about that, but I personally would prefer it if that was the case. Again, just for that sort of, this is what happened previously with this, or this is how I, it's just an easier transition, I believe. It doesn't have to be, a minority shareholder for the next 10 years. But I just think in terms of the transition to new ownership, rather than coming in and clearing the decks, which some may agree with, some might want Wilder and all the management staff out, even though we just brought a new recruitment team in and we're looking at bringing the whole medical team in. Some might think it's right, completely fresh lick of paint everywhere. Let's go again with, I don't know, Steve Cooper or whoever. I think it's low risk to stick with Wilder this summer for the rebuild. He knows what the fans want to see in a Sheffield United player. And I think he's earned the chance over his career, maybe not his performance last season, because I understand where the criticism comes from. I just think we've said it before, haven't we, turning up to a gunfight with a water pistol, to be honest. But I think he's deserved and earned a chance to rebuild our club in the vision that we all want to see, where people are giving everything for the shirt. He's been very strong in saying, effort levels haven't been where they need to be, but there will be next year. There will be. And that's what we want first and foremost, is people giving everything they've got for the shirt. Just another little spanner to throw in the works, and I think this is probably mischief making because it's not along the same lines that I've heard. Champagne Blades asked Alan Nixon if we're close to any signings before the takeover happens at all. And Alan Nixon said all the targets they wanted so far seem to be looking for more than is on offer. So an injection of cash is badly needed. So look, we know, as has been talked about previously, we want to be a self-sustaining club, and getting relegated means you have to, tighten your belt accordingly. And we all understand that. That's something that, whether we like it or not, that's the situation we're in. Obviously, the change of ownership may change that. We may be a bit more ambitious. We may, try and gamble a little bit more, whether you agree with that or not. But we are going to try and get the best deal for the club in every circumstance. I'm okay with us not blowing Middlesbrough out of the water to sign Luke Ayling. Luke Ayling had half a season on loan at Borough that he really enjoyed, and he's not going to make or break our season. I think it'd have been a solid signing, but I don't think it changes too much in the grand scheme of things, and I certainly won't be outbidding Middlesbrough to try and get him. Ollie McBurney, it's rumoured that I've seen some online today that he's not happy with the contract offer from Sheffield United. Well, if it's still, you can bet your bottom dollar it is a significant amount of money for a Championship player. And if he don't want to sign it, then why would we offer him 60, 70 grand a week in the Championship just because he's going to go on a free? It's got to make sense for the football club. So I get the frustration, but I also understand the club point of view on it. I'm trying to be balanced with it as well, but it annoys me. Players who have not performed, like Ollie McBurney has not performed last season, along with everybody else, by the way. It's certainly not just a McBurney thing. But then you can't sit and dictate. I think it's right that we do a high turnover of players. So let me know what you think. It's really exciting. I'm a little bit I'm enjoying my last week of freedom. I've been stuffing my face for the last few days, and I'll continue to do so because on the 1st of March we start the Ramble pre-season fitness challenge led by Steve Marsden, who I'll show in a minute. So anybody, I think there's 3 places left. So if anybody wants to get those last 3 places, thanks to everybody that signed up already, and we will be going for this. But I'm having a bit of a farewell tour of all the foods I enjoy, I think, just for the summer. So I'm enjoying myself. But if you want to hear a little bit more about it, it's...
Hello there, Blades fans. Do you want to get fit, feel better, and get into shape? Well, Jimmy and I have teamed up to bring you the Blades Ramble Health and Fitness Challenge. My name's Steve. I'm a Sheffield United fan, a Platinum Rambler, and I'm also an award-winning personal trainer who's been featured on Sky News, Men's Fitness, and many, many more. I will provide you with workout plans, and no matter how fit you are or where you're starting from, you'll be able to do something. I'll provide you with nutrition coaching, and then we're going to have the amazing Rambler community support you, keep you accountable, and motivate you along the way. You can do it! And the best thing about it is, if you don't hit your goal, I will give you your money back. So if you're interested in finding out more, click the link below and let's get you fit.
Full disclosure, we're really excited about this challenge. And as it gets closer, I'm dreading it more and more, because it's all right for everybody else that's, don't stick their head above the parapet with it. But I am clearly a man that needs something like this to motivate myself. And I'm now out there. Talk about accountability. There's over 500 people in this stream now we got over 5,000 views on the last couple of videos. I am accountable now. So if this doesn't work or does work, do you know what I mean? Anyway, let's move on. What do we think about the takeover? the potential takeover. Are we excited? Are we concerned? We'll get to your comments now. And Bryce starts us off. Good evening, pal. Platinum Rambler. Evening, Jimmy and Prince Abdullah. Well, we're edging closer. Be interesting to see how Prince Abdullah is saying it all with a minority stake. If he gets a minority stake, pal, yeah, that's true. I'd like him to have that. But it may be a full sale, might it? 100 million plus being touted around, plus player incomings on top, up the Ramble. Bryce says they have the infrastructure now in place. So on the surface, it's a good sale, assuming they get the recruitment right, which is vital to hit the ground running at the start of the season. Up the Blades, Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Thank you, mate. Dave Morwood, another Platinum Rambler ours. This is now getting so exciting after the last two. Let's hope the money will be enough to get the players needed and the future is bright. It's red and white. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Ian, good evening, mate. Is this really happening? Can we dare to dream, Jimmy? I am led to believe, pal, this has legs. You heard it here first. You didn't. You heard it in Telegraph first, but we have obviously that gives it a bit more substance than it's just me coming on and saying I've heard that there's legs to this, but I don't know how far down the line we are. So I am just as excited to be on this ride as the rest of you. Howdy, Jim says, Scott, is it actually going to happen? Until it's signed, sealed, delivered, I'll not get too excited yet. Yeah, that's sensible, mate. I hope this won't affect current plans too much. Such a huge window ahead. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Now, I agree with this, and I think it probably is affecting current plans, and that's a concern for me. It's not like oh my God. But if we go another week, maybe 2 weeks without any player movement, then you start to think, oh, it's dragging on a little bit, this. The worst case scenario now is it falls through and we've just stalled on any potential deals. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's not think like that. Will be a minimum of 2 months, says Carl, with the EFL, so don't get too excited. But we don't know when it was submitted for approval, do we? We've had confirmation that it's with the EFL. It's been submitted to the EFL, Carl. But how many of us knew that we were this close already? It's obviously been a conversation that's been going on in the background for some time. There's been due diligence already done as per that article. They could have submitted this approval a month ago, for all we know. So we may well be close to, and Darren points out, rightly so, that if it looks like they're coming to some sort of resolution and a deal, they could inject funds into this squad. And then if worst case scenario happens and we owe them 20 million quid, then we might have to sell Gus Amer, might we, and pay him back. Or we get promoted and we pay him back with the promotion money. There are ways of structuring things like this takeover and like, so everybody wins. And, you know, there's a chance everybody loses. I understand that, but it's good to be excited and looking forward to something, isn't it? Rice says, come on, you red and white wizards. Platinum Rambler, top man. How you doing, mate? Press that thumbs up button, guys. I love all this sort of push for liking and subscribe. Honestly, the subscriber numbers have gone through the roof recently. Thank you so much. It were only a couple of weeks ago we were celebrating, like, getting to 4K. And this is what YouTube's like. It can be up and down in terms of cycles and bursts in growth and stuff. But I think we're on about 4,130 odd now already. So I think we gained 140 subscribers in the last 2-3 weeks. Ridiculous numbers. Thank you, everybody, for your support. On that, and this is just a little personal side note that is unbelievable, really. And I can't even believe I'm saying it out loud. I've always sort of looked at this as an absolute labor of love. It's not hard work. I love jumping on. I would love to commit more time to it. I would love to be able to, you know, be on more. I don't mean to sort of oversaturate it, because I've always sort of had the mantra of only jumping on as and when I'm desperate to talk about something, or there's some news that we desperately want to talk about. That's why I ain't got a schedule. I ain't got something that says I have to be on at this time, because I want to always be in the mood for it. But sometimes I'm at work and I want to be rambling and I can't because I'm busy. The growth of the channel recently and the support of the sponsors and other opportunities that are coming up have potentially given us a chance of, I can't believe it's even a reality really, of maybe doing this permanently at some stage, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous to even think about. And on that note, I have got a second channel that we haven't really done anything with today, but if I can get it, even to a fifth of where we are here with the Ramble, I think I'm going to start like trialing watch-alongs on there so we get it right for the Ramble. I'm going to do the Euros, I think, on Jimmy Ramble channel. That's my plan at the moment anyway. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. Nothing will dilute what we're doing here, but it's just a sort of experiment across the board. Dino, good evening, mate. Be interesting to know just how this deal is set up. We know how the Glazers did Man U deal. We don't want that. Don't mind the owners making a few bob as long as they keep us competitive. Up the Blades. I agree, Dean. I agree. It's all about what their intentions are, isn't it? So an investment fund, they need to make money, don't they? They need to make money, a return on their money, essentially. The only way they can do that is by us being successful on the pitch. And there's been some concerns at Ramblers chat about, the American Airlines, Bramall Lane and all this sort of stuff. And Corn Dog Cop and all this. But, there might be some of that we have to cross the bridge when we come to it. There might be a rise in ticket prices. So, again, this might be something that we need to be careful what we wish for. We've been very lucky with ticket pricing over the last few years under Prince Abdullah. Excuse me. So, we don't know what's coming. But they need us to be a Premier League club to make money, to make proper money. So that is the only thing that sort of overrides any concerns that I've got at the minute. You want us to be safe and stable financially. We want a club left when it's all said and done. Absolutely right, we do, mate. Absolutely right. Danny says, all I want to know, Jimmy, is how much is the consortium worth? No idea, mate. No idea. We need to know where they are first, don't we? Have they got liquid funds and not loaning against future payments or against the Blades assets? What's their plans for the future, i.e. the ground? All similar to Dean's question, isn't it, really, in terms of what are they going to be doing? These are all questions up in the air. You look at somebody like Alan Pace at Burnley, who was in the mix to buyers when Prince Abdullah came in. He was talking to Kevin McCabe about purchasing us, I believe, at that. It might have been later on, actually, when they were discussing the sale. Anyway, we nearly got Alan Pace in as our owner. And yes, they had success, but they threw money at it from the club. And now they owe the owners the money back. They've leveraged money against the club, haven't they? So we're in a much healthier position now. Burnley need to sell an awful lot of players to get back onto an even keel. We don't want any of that, do we? We don't want somebody coming in using our own money to gamble our future. Can't wait till the new season, says Jack, but I'm very nervous about the -2 point deduction this summer transfer window. If we don't get it right, I don't think I can handle another embarrassment. I have no concerns about the point deduction because I don't think it's significant enough to, damage what's going to happen to us inevitably. I don't think we'll miss out. Well, we couldn't we? It'd be devastating to miss out on, say, automatic promotion by a point or whatever it might be. But it's set at the beginning of the season, so we know the situation we're in already. We can't argue that. The transfer window makes me slightly nervous if we don't start moving soon. I get that. Danny, we've all seen consortiums fall flat, and look at Burnley with them gaining funds by securing finance against future income. It'd be a step backwards. What do you think? Yeah, I've just touched on that, Antapal. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself with opinion on it. Let's hope we end up like a Fulham or Bournemouth and not Swansea. Hopefully we don't have to cash in on anyone unless they still want to leave, obviously. That's right. That's right. Wilder talked about people, didn't he, in his last presser about players that didn't want to be here. And if that's the case, off you pop. Jimmy, tell us everything all right, says Stu. A long-time Rambler. Thank you for your support, pal. Blade for life. Everything will be all right, mate. As long as there's a Sheffield United, everything will be all right, and there's no danger of there not being. So, of course we will. The happy chappy who rarely appears happy to me. So we'll see what this comment brings. The fact we don't know anything about this group is slightly concerning, given the track record of the people the Prince has tried to sell to. That is a fair point. It's not, there's no denying the last two failed deals. Henry Maurice, who got done for wire fraud, and Dozie Mabuse, who is accused of, I think it's fraudulent activity or something. It's certainly not been confirmed. But it's not a good track record so far, is it? So you're right to be concerned until we know anything more. Mark is still fuming about not seeing the return list. Wilder's games. I don't know if it's Wilder's doing. From what I understand, the players all know. The players all know their future. There will be one or two players that we're still negotiating with, I'm sure. Otherwise, we'd have released it. There's no reason not to release the return list. So players like, you'd assume, and this is purely an assumption, Dan Jebison, Ollie McBurney, for example. If Wilder wants to keep him and we've not yet agreed, that will be a delay, because it'd be nice to be able to say, yes, unfortunately, we're releasing those 5 players that we mentioned and Adam Davis and whoever else, but we'd like to announce the new signing, a new contract for Ollie McBurney, and rather than it just be a bit of text at the bottom. There's also the thought process that if these new owners are having a say in player acquisitions and assets that we have in terms of playing staff, they may have gone against what Wilder's saying or said, excuse me, we were going to release McBurney under the Prince due to budget constraints, but actually now you can offer him 10 grand more a week if you want, if you're desperate to keep him. We don't know, do we? It's guesswork. But as I say, as far as I'm aware, the players all know their fate. Evening, Jimmy Pal. This might sound daft, but what's a consortium? A consortium is a group of individuals that come together to jointly fund, essentially, a project. So these are wealthy individuals that will form a group and all put a percentage in to take over Sheffield United. It's not a daft question, mate. Kelly says, can't wait, might not be a bad thing. I know, it might not be a bad thing. We can always try and think of the positives, can't we? And I'm trying to focus on that, because until we know, there's no... My dad always says to me, if you can't do what about it, what is the point in worrying about it? And obviously that's a lot easier to say than do. But we might as well try and look on the bright side of it. And what you don't want to run away with yourself. I'm not expecting Newcastle level funding, but I'm expecting a more solid foundation, because the reason for the Prince not being able to push us on as a football club is purely due to finance. And you'd think that anyone coming in must be in a stronger position to take us on. Or certainly if the Prince is going to maintain a minority stake, he would want to be part of that. Right? That tells me that he's got confidence of people that he's doing business with, that we can potentially continue. Why would you want 20% or 30% or whatever, 10% of anything that you think is going to go down in value? You wouldn't, would you? So for me, it shows confidence from the Prince in the investors if he retains a stake as well. Evening, Josh. Just want to say I love your lives and get a feeling saying when is Jimmy going live next? Oh, nice. Thank you, mate. Keep up the good work, mate. Up the Ramble. Thank you, Pally. Appreciate that. I've really started going live an awful lot more. Largely, and listen, we're an honest channel and we always will be. It's a lot easier for me, if I'm honest, in a lot of ways, because I love my recorded content, and I think I'm most proud of some of my recorded content because it's polished, or it's as polished as it's going to get for me. And I'm self-taught, so I'm quite proud of some of the stuff we can put together in a recorded piece. But ultimately, the best feedback I get and the most enjoyable content I do is when I'm getting instant feedback from you lot. And I think because we try and be a platform that shares different opinions, and I've got my opinion, as you're all aware. I won't sit on the fence with anything, or I'll certainly try not to. I'll be honest with you in what I think. And people either agree or disagree, and that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about people getting a chance to have their say. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. Maybe the Wrexham boys are jumping ship, says Stu. Maybe so. Maybe so. I don't think they will be. Shoei, good evening, pal. No good panicking. Just a game of wait and see, I'm afraid. Nothing we can do about it anyway, really. Yeah, absolutely. Taking a leaf out of Andy the Blade's book. Will the takeover be potentially around the corner? Mean that transfers will be held up, says Joe. Oh, Wilder get a best case and worst case set of budgets so they can get things moving. I think that's where we are. I think we're in a bit of limbo at the minute. we're clearly in a state of a bit of flux where we're not too sure which way the coin's going to fall. But it's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting. As long as it doesn't go on too long, because we could start to miss targets. And like I say, in the grand scheme of things, that might not be as meaningful. You know, we've missed out on a Luke Ayling, for example. I wouldn't have wanted us to go 5-10 grand more just to get him. But if it comes to a player that we really want, somebody like, there's a pun here somewhere about setting hares racing, but somebody like a Callum O'Hare, for example, who's available on a free, could Sheffield United now throw a £2 million sign-on fee at him? Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Rather than, oh, well, we'll just give you best we can, 30, 35 grand a week. And, you know, if we get promoted, then we'll give you a bonus of X. We might now be a little bit more competitive for those strong players. And if we lose a player like that to, say, a Leeds, I know it's likely he might go to the Premier League as a squad man, but anyway, it's interesting, and it sort of opens up a few different possibilities for us. Tom Leake says this takeover needs to be above board, no asset stripping, debt loading, or any other scam. Not bothered if it takes a couple of seasons to get the team right. Slow and steady wins the race. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Gary says, just another smoke screen. Why would you buy in the Championship when you could have bought in the Prem? It just smells of smoke everywhere. Up the Blades. Thank you, pal. Skeptical Gary there. Maybe, you know, rightly so. I would say the price will likely have a lot to do with it in terms of why buy in the Championship rather than the Prem. I think we're a big fish in a small pond now, aren't we? If we get it right, a good chance of getting back to the Premier League. But because there's no guarantee in getting back to the Premier League, the risk that you take in, undoubtedly will be cheaper. There were figures mooted, and none of us knew, but of around 130, 140 million when we were just going into the Premier League. And we knew then that the club was struggling for money because obviously we had the Illiman and Dye situation and the Sander Berger situation. Now there's talk of 100 million. That's a £40 million saving, potentially. None of us know the figures, but this is just what we're rumoured at the time. Me, myself, and Hamer Time says, maybe no one wants to sell a Prem team. Much cheaper to buy a Championship team and then investors necessary to aim for promotion. Yeah, maybe just an answer to Gary there. Fair. Ramble on, says Cam. Ramble on, pal. Ramble on. Ramble on indeed. Thank you. It may be premature, says Susan. Good evening. One of our Platinum Ramblers, to talk about who will manage the team, but will the new owners want or insist on a big name? Time is money, and I wonder if CW will even get a chance. We'll see. I don't think. It depends, doesn't it? It depends if their aim is promotion, bang, straight away, then they might want an immediate name in. But I don't know who you could get that's going to make a significant difference. Everybody knows my opinion. I think Chris Wilder is the one to take us forward. I think it's low risk. I think he understands what's needed at the club. Other people will have different opinions. I know Steve in our Elite Ramblers chat he is the leader of the Steve Cooper fan club. And rightly so. He's done a great job. But it don't mean he's going to get it any more right than Wilder would. So it's really interesting. I've not really sort of considered whether that's a possibility. But surely not. Surely he's earned a chance to put a team together. And then if he don't get it right, I understand. But I think he'll go well next season, Wilder. Seb Ethan, vlogs. All right, okay, very good. We'll be checking out your channel, pal. Hi, Jimmy. Hope the ownership rumours are true. Has anybody seen we've been linked with cash in from Derby? The deal was he's gone to Forest and then comes on loan to us. Oh, no. Right, so cash in at Derby. Left centre-back, can play left back, can play left wing-back. Really good young player. It was on both mine and my dad's lists for a target if Derby didn't come up. Derby have obviously come up now, and he signed a new deal with them. And I doubt he'll go anywhere, in all honesty, because he's one of their prize assets. Really good young player. They will be sick as parrots if he goes to Forest, their arch rivals. And we don't like him either, obviously. I can't add him to a list of Forest players that I want, because I already want Lewis O'Brien and Joe Worrell. I can't add any more from Forest there because we'll turn into bloody Forest Light at this rate. But at least we'll, respect their players, unlike them. The Prince wanted a deal in the Prem, says Gary, where surely he would not got more money. The Prince has to go. Careful what you wish for, Gary. Of course, he'd wanted a deal in the Prem where he got more money, but there might not have been the buyers. It's a buyer's market, isn't it? I just think you've got to be careful what you wish for. Will we all be, harking back to comeback Prince Abdullah when, an extra 50 or 100 quid gets put on season tickets and shirts are selling at 75 quid, 90 quid like England shirts? I'm not saying that's going to happen, by the way, but obviously it's all a consideration, isn't it? Cole says, really miss these rambles, Jimmy. Don't have many to talk about the Blades. So refreshing to see what people say and opinions raised up the Blade. Thank you, Cole. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Everybody having a chance to have their say. Seen recently West Brom are willing to sell that Furlong for $2 million. A defensive right back is something that I think we've lacked since George got injured and could be a good player to rotate with Bogle. Yeah, Darnell Furlong, Paul Furlong's lad for older viewers, the ex-QPR forward. What's Darnell now, about 28, 29 maybe? Decent player, got a good long throw on him. So that could be the mirroring of Jackie, although I do think the Jackie long throw is a bit of a myth, if I'm honest, in terms of how effective it can be. Me and my dad were both saying it at last game against Spurs, when he comes up for a long throw and he's launching it in and it gets cleared again, like it always does. I know they look good, or they look like they're creating bother and chances. How many of them do we actually score from? Not many is the answer. But anyway, it's a ball into the box, isn't it? Anyway, that's by the by. Furlong, he's a right back, isn't it? I'm sure he could play right wing back. Looks athletic to me, athletic enough to do it. $2 million for a 28, 29-year-old. I'm not sure. I think there might be better options out there. But, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. The only other thing to think is, and I know Wilder is usually wedded to the 3-5-2, but because we're getting rid of so many players, is it the opportunity to change it up and go 4 at the back? I know a lot of people have called for it. There's, has it had formations and tactics moved on slightly, or can you still get something out of an innovative 3-5? I like the 3-5-2. I think, no better than Wilder for me to get that going again. What players do you hope we're in for next season, says Seb. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Plenty of bids coming on that, pal. I've got loads of comments to get through, so I won't spend too much time on that at the minute. But yeah, I've loads that I want to talk about. Strikers a must, says Gaz. Absolutely right. I'm new to all of this, so what impact will a new owner actually have? Well, it depends what you get, doesn't it, Jack? They might invest heavily. They might invest a little bit, sort of sensibly. They might not at all. You only look across the city into what's happened over there. Shambles. Be careful is all I'll say. If we build like Bournemouth, Brighton and Brentford, that'll do me, says Tom. What about you, Jimmy? Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Well, they're sustained in the Premier League now. They're sort of securing their Premier League status. It could always go wrong in any one season for those 3 clubs, though, couldn't it? But Brighton, not so much. I think they've got too strong a foundation. But if Brentford's alive and Tony, they started dropping like a stone when he hit a rough patch. Bournemouth, I think, have got a very good manager, but as soon as he is picked off, then they could easily slip back into mediocrity. So, yeah, I want us to build like that, but you can't stop there, can you? You've got to aim for being a solid, sustained Premier League club. Pete sings away that we're all Blades and things can only get better. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Well done to the development team, says Chris, in winning the national final. It's a brilliant achievement. The future's bright. The future's red and white. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, Chris, and thanks for your support, pal. It's a cheaper deal to do in the champ, says Bill. Them Google Blades, says Ben. I'm not sure Mr. Google's involved. I'm not sure he is. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm not sure he is. Waiting on Jeremy Beadle popping up. This sounds too good to be true, says Millie. Fair. Nice old school shout as well. Love that. A lot of the younger Ramblers will not get that. Finally managed to catch a live for the first time in ages. Yes, Shawnee. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Yeah. Oh, you made me do it again, haven't you? So Scott clipped me last time, and that's been repeated in the chat several times. So thank you to Scott for stitching me up there. But Sean, one of our Platinum Ramblers, I'd only do it for you, pal. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, says Stephen. I'm loving all this positivity, this support. It's brilliant. Thank you. Already seen some online complaining about it being Silicon Valley based, and the track record of investment in that part of the world can never be happy us lot, can we? Bill, we're Blades, aren't we? To say we're skeptical is very kind. So, like and subscribe, says Steve. Rob says, any chance of our new prospective owners can find Trusty a job in the USA? Harsh. At last, some better news. Up the Blades. Patience is key, says Ant. Yes, mate, it is. It certainly is. Evening, Jimmy. Evening, Prince Abdullah. And evening, Donald Trump. Elon Musk, says Rich. Platinum Rambler, which Rich Littlewood finds funny. Yeah, nice, mate. Nice touch. Billy says, just bought a new TV, Jim, to watch the Prem. I know what's coming here. Games on next season. Couldn't wait to get home, but when I opened up the box, there were no Leeds in there. Funny that. Thought they'd be standard. Yes, nice, mate. Nicely done. Championship will be a cracking league next season. Yeah, it will, Gaz. It will. Lots of local games, aren't there? Stress, but fun. Kieran Maguire tweeted that they need to pay 190 million in installments on June the 30th. I'm a follower, particularly when they're doing poorly. So I've tuned back in recently. I've mentioned this previously, and this is no offense to them because he's a good lad, but I love the Just Joe football show, particularly when Leeds are doing poorly, because Joe is so passionate about Leeds, and it's great to see. But I'm an avid viewer when it's going wrong because I hate them all. It's brilliant. And obviously they lost in playoff final, so I'm looking through highlights of when they lost. He's gone in on Kieran Maguire a little bit in his latest video because he thinks the tweet was misleading. And I understand what he's saying, but going to the point where he's saying Kieran Maguire's spinning lies. Don't agree with that, Joe. Love your stuff, pal, and I'm hoping to work with you next season. But yeah, so it is Leeds owe a total of 190 million in future installments. Only 70-ish, 70 to 75 is owed by 30th of June, which is a lot of money. But it's they're thinking that the parachute payment installment will pay for half of that. They've also got installments to come for Sinistera and another player that they sold last season. Can't remember. So that'll come in before this is due. They also think that, we'll end up selling Somerville to Liverpool for 30 mil, and that'll be it done. And if none of that happens, they are confident that the 49ers will step in and pay the money up front, whether it be a loan to the club or whatever, but they're not concerned about that. Having said that, Ben, I'm still delighted that they have not gone up and hopefully need to sell some players. All ones are the best, Bill. Absolutely right, FX. We've heard it before, haven't we? Great Bant says, hey, new owners, there's a hidden gem of an attacker who plays for Marseille. Make it happen. Oh, dearie me. We need to let that one go. Illiman is not coming back. Maybe if we get to the promised land and he has another stinker of a season. It's not been a stinker, has it? That's a harsh thing to say, but you know what I mean. Slits says they're not going to spend. We're going to be screwed regardless. Well, that is the Blades way. That is the way to think about it. Come on, Slits. We don't even know what it is or who they are yet, do we? John Bond. The name's Bond. John Bond. Howdy, Jimmy. Great news about the takeover getting a step closer. Up the Bitcoin Blades. Yeah. Thank you, pal. Gaza, Leeds are up. Pooh Creek, massive debts. Not quite as great as you'd like to think, but I'm all for it. Oh, here we go. Tom bought a new 78-inch TV screen for next season's Prem. Opened it up. No Leeds. Echo. I heard the media say that the buyers are the same company who own Leeds. Oh, my God. Not going so well for them. They owe 170 million transfers. I wish they did. Well, they do. They owe 190, but not imminently. And they're going to win the league this season. So then when they're promoted to Prem, it's not a problem. That's what he was saying. Fair play, Joe. I love your optimism, pal. As exciting a takeover talk is, do want to see the club progressing with things like signings and return list. It seems to be so slow at doing everything. Welcome to United being in it. That's what we do. Slow to everything. Hope we've got signings lined up. We have. I know Wilder's been talking to loads of players. There's no doubt in that. The Telegraph article mentioned the 49ers, but it was just a comparison. Yeah, I thought that too. It wasn't saying they were the same company that's interested in us. Hopefully the takeover makes us a lot more attractive for players to join. Don't think we'll have any pull currently with how last season went and being on -2. I don't know. I think it depends on the first couple of signings and, how busy we're going to be, how we sell it to them. I wouldn't write us off yet for being an attractive proposition because I think we are. Corn dogs, cowboy hats, American-style jersey. There's novelties in the club shop. Love that, Matt. Love that, pal. If the rumour's correct, says Paul, and Osborne's contract renewal is reversed because the new owners want input into recruitment, does that mean we don't get new players until that deal is done? Maybe, Paul. Maybe. People don't invest without return, so they're definitely not putting money into the club. So the deal is 100 million. Take 170 million in parachute payments. Not a bad investment. I don't think it's as clear-cut as that, pal. I don't think it's as clear-cut as that. If this takeover ends up being rubbish, that'll be me finished. 55 years following the Blades home and away, and that even just forking out over 700 quid on next season. I get that, SA, and people criticise the club for not communicating well. However, they've not said a peep about this, have they? This is all conjecture in the media. So if it does fall through or it's another bad egg, if you like, then it's not something that the club have been shouting from the rooftops about. So I wouldn't necessarily blame the club. It wouldn't be a case of, I'm done with Sheffield United. It would probably just mean every time there's a takeover shout, which a few people think now, I'm just not going to give it attention until it's actually done. Will the new owners overrule Chris's recruitment suggestions? Will they want to replace him? There are more questions than answers at the time when we need to get the new squad recruited ASAP. Yeah. It does make you anxious, that sort of stuff, doesn't it? I understand. Gaza says, I can see Wilder not being around if the Americans take over. Who else would you get? Who else comes in at this? They're all talking about replacing Ten Hag and all these things that are happening all over the place. Who is about? We're not going to get a Graham Potter or somebody like that. I just think you're better sticking off with what you know, particularly because we put significant investment into Wilder as well recently in terms of his plans and his team that he wants around him. Oh, I wish I hadn't started drinking then, FX. Thank God Rooney's been given a job elsewhere. Yeah, can you imagine? If the technical advisor is the scout that was at Bournemouth years ago, he complained regarding some of the potential signings he identified were never followed up, mainly lower league and non-league players. Yeah, I saw an interview with that. Sean is keeping his fingers crossed. Platinum Rambler. Blunt Yorkshireman says, Jimmy, been meaning to say for ages, great channel, and you make a charismatic host. Thank you, pal. Oh, I'll blush. Keep up the good work. And up the ramble. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Although I don't take compliments very well. I can honestly say I personally think this will be a bad deal. The Prince nearly lost to Harry, Henry and Dozy once, maybe, but twice selling to con artists. I do not trust the Prince one bit. What would you prefer then, Slits? So you don't trust the Prince. Admittedly, the previous two potential deals would have been likely a disaster. But you don't trust him to get a decent deal over the line. So what situation are you wanting now? Do you want him to stay because it's better the devil you know? It's a tricky one, isn't it? I understand your doubts as well because the track record of previous sales has been terrible. But we have to keep the faith, don't we? Otherwise, what are we doing? Wilder needs to be a coach and not a manager. We can't build a club around one man and suffer the consequences again. We need to grow up, says Rob, as a club and have a team above the manager for recruitment. Yeah, I understand that a lot of people are moving away from the manager model and going more head coach, aren't they? Where it's less focused on one man to build the club. Smart advisors, Des Taylor. I know. We were joking in the chat that it was Dennis Taylor. Is it a snooker player, Dennis Taylor? Yeah, Des Taylor. Yeah, he's the one involved in putting the consortium's bid together. Evening, Tim. Elite Rambler. I hope the Prince still has an influence, as I think he's a proper football business bloke. He knows the industry. Yeah, I do too. And it shows faith in his new partners, doesn't it, if that's the case? We have to keep an open mind, says Bill, but we know more info on who the proposed buyer is when we know, or until we know when the proposed buyer is. Who the proposed buyer is, cautious but hopeful. Absolutely. Kev Critchley says, love the Leeds outstanding debt. Me too, pal. Me too. It's not quite as significant as we'd hope. It is. It's a huge amount of money, but it's been reported as like 190 mil due by end of June. It's not quite like that. Still love it all the same. Chris Jones, think Wilder's focus will be so much money based. Won't be so much money based, and having a bigger budget means higher profile players think his first priority will be character. I agree. After so many waved the white flag last season, very well said. That's what it's about, isn't it? That's what we want as a fan base. Get the identity of the club back, that the fans can relate to the players. I can't relate, and this is, I hate digging out individuals, but I have to be honest with you. I can't relate to a Vinny Souza rolling around on the floor and, you know, not putting the effort in that we want of him and blaming other players when he's not doing his bit. I can't be doing with it. I can't be doing it. If he were, you know, you could understand it a little bit if it were best player on pitch. And, you know, Man United fans used to get annoyed when Ronaldo came back second time because he never did any work for the team. But you pass him the ball and he scores. So a lot of, you know, you lump it, don't you? Because it's Ronaldo. Well, Sousa ain't got anything like that. You know, he don't give us anything extra, in my opinion. I can't get on board with him as a Sheffield United player. And I hope he proves me wrong if he stays, which I don't think he will. But if he stays, he might smash it in Championship. But I don't think he will. Evening, Andy. I can see trouble coming. Hope I'm wrong, but I don't want to lose Wilder up the Ramble, up the Blades. Yeah, a lot more people sort of thinking that might be a possibility. Again, it's not some... He's been with us half a season, so you can understand that he's, you know, it's not a safe as ours position to be in, and potentially, especially if there's going to be new ownership. But it's so low risk to stick with Wilder, who knows the league, who's been promoted out of the league, knows the club and the fans and what we want. And some people will think he's lost his mojo, but for me, he looks like a man who's got a bit between his teeth. And I think he's earned that opportunity over his career, as I've said, maybe not in the most recent times, but it's also about, and I said this on Football 11, it's about what you want from your manager. I resonate with Wilder in terms of how he is. I feel like he could be sat next to me in stand and be saying, oh, not saying similar things. I'm not saying I know half as much. He's forgot more about football than I know. But I get it. I get it. And I feel closer to the club when somebody who feels the same as the club is leading the way personally. So that's an extra tick in the box for me, maybe. If you're Chris Wilder, Blades always. If you're Chris Wilder, you know, little saying the players that come in, what would you do? I think he'll walk if that's the case. That's why I can't assume that that's what's happening. I can't get on board with that thought process. Some managers, look, my dad's been involved in football clubs before, professional football clubs going up the leagues. And I remember one particular manager coming in when he were at Bradford, and he were a yes man to the chairman, and he just did everything they were told. You don't wash. You don't last. You don't get the respect of the players. Chris Wilder is his own man. He won't be told what he needs to do. I'm not saying he won't compromise, because I think he will. I think he'll give a lot more than he has done previously. And he hasn't quite got the credit in the bank that he's had in years gone by. But he'll still not be compromised on his principles. So I think if they try and tell him, I want you to sign this player and I want you to play this player, he'll say thanks very much. Bill says, I hope Prince Abdullah keeps a share too. Would help transition the ownership while keeping one eye on the culture and things like ticket prices, etc. I agree. Ray agrees. Can't see Chris taking a back seat with the recruitment, having no say in it, and no way will he accept that situation. But it's all up in the air until it's ratified by the EFL. That's right, Ray. That's right. 100%. Jimmy think Pierce sticking around keeps the new owners honest. This shows how far behind on comment time, by the way, but I am trying best to catch up. This is all a smoke screen to put off investment into the team so he can pocket the parachute payments and hopefully buy a new hoodie. Wow, Slits. Not a fan. Are you Chirac in disguise? Reveal yourself, Chirac. So many possible scenarios, says Aaron, if this goes through. New owner could inject cash and sign better players, sack Wilder and bring in higher profile manager, delays signings and screws us. Yeah, all on the table, apparently. Yeah. Chirac could be chuffed to bits if Prince retained a minority share, says Paul. Jimmy is a 45-year-old Blade. Neil says, Blades fan, I'm worried that the possible new owners could be like Todd Bowley, going in the dressing room and interfering in the football side, or that it's all smoke and mirrors up the Ramble. I don't think it. I know, mate. You can't dismiss any of that, can you? Because we're in the dark. We don't know who they are. So it's all right for me saying, nah, they wouldn't do that. Because I don't know who they are. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. We just don't know. Whatever happens, says Matt, let's hope it's soon. We need that window. Just remember, all those that hate the Prince, be careful what you wish for. I think he's done a good job, just not rich enough. I think more and more people are now in that mindset. What you hear online, I think, is the vocal minority, Matt. And, they're more than entitled to their opinion. Absolutely they are. I'm not on board with that. I think we'll look back very fondly on Prince Abdullah's time with us. Nixon takes the we don't want to spend that wage on Ailing because he's not worth it and turns it into Blades can only offer buttons for wages. It does my head in. Yeah, absolutely. It's the spin in it. It's the spin. Billy was collating his own little collection of Nixonisms. Looking forward to seeing that, pal. Paul says, I'm all for new owners with a bob or two. Only thing I would never, ever want is for us to leave beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. The Bramall Lane site should be listed and protected so it can never happen. I don't think it'll. Well, again, you can't ever say never. But would love, we can't. I think it's very unlikely, but I think there's more chance that it gets renamed by a sponsor, which again I'm not happy about, but that's football, isn't it? Sorry, but doesn't anyone else think it's slightly concerning that literally no one knows anything about who they actually are other than Silicon Valley Consortium? No, I mean, what difference does it make? That's not the right way of saying it, but it doesn't change anything if we know, does it? I mean, they were saying in our Ramble chat earlier, a lot of Blades fans feel like we are entitled to know everything that's going on behind closed doors at the club, and we're not. We're not, are we? We're not. Because if we knew everything about them, down to, how much they're worth and what they have for cereal in the morning, with the criticism and scrutiny would then be under the microscope times 100, wouldn't it? So I think it's probably sensible that the club keeps the cards close to the chest on this one for now. Billy and Matt having a bit of a love-in. Obviously know each other. That's good to see. Another one saying cash into Forest, then loaned out to us. I don't want him on loan, and I don't want him on loan from Forest because all we'll do is make him into a better player for Forest. No. Love cash in as a player, but I want to buy him if we're having him. Jack says, I ran my first 10K the other day. Only took me an hour and 8 minutes. Thank you for the update, pal. That's brilliant. I hope one day to be able to say something similar. We'll see. Steve, that's your mission, pal. That is your mission. I'm going to be on here looking like Twiggy. No one wants to play for us. We penny pinch like mad. Oh, Slits. What's going on? Stop bringing down the vibe. My old mate. I'm all for you having a different opinion, but wow. Self-sustaining is a job. In other words, PA doesn't want to spend any money on the club. It's a joke. We are so poorly run. Wow. Andrew says, let McBurney go, I assume. He's not done that much since he came in. Let him go and then get someone in who will try. A lot of people will be of that opinion too. Jimmy, get Steve down at training ground and sort the players out. Absolutely. Well, if they want to sign on to Fitness Challenge, I don't think there's enough places for him, to be honest, but I'm sure Steve will do his bit for the Blades. Bean says, thought we've been linked to more players with how many we need. I thought we would be linked to more players. We've had months to prepare for this window. I'm not confident, honestly, but hopefully the takeover changes things. What are we now? 28th of May, June, July. We've got about, 10 weeks? Something like that. We've got a lot of time, I think, to get players. It's not as long as I thought, actually, when you plan it out like that. Happy Chappy says, also for anyone getting too ahead of themselves, look at Birmingham and what their owners have done. Fair. But I think their ownership have made some terrible decisions. Bringing Rooney in for John Eustace, and I think they deserve everything they get for that. But they are financially solid and sound, and they have got a lot of money behind them. So I'm pleased they're out of the league, actually, because I think they would have gone for it financially, at least, this season. So they're all right. That's secured their future as a club. I know they got relegated. Nobody ever wants to be relegated, but they will be okay. I think that's, a real positive for a club. Paul says, if that story about Leeds owing 190 million in transfer payments is correct, they're going to need a fire sale in the summer. That could have been us if the Prince had been less prudent with the cash. Good point, but it's not quite that with Leeds, is it? Excited with this news on the takeover, says Rob. Is it going to be, we've got a barrel of money from now on? Let's hope so, mate. Yeah, we've got a barrel of money. And we've got Woodward and Curry. Prince Abdullah does not care about slits. I've got your point now. I've got your point, mate. I don't think we'll be going over this time and time again. Look at Ipswich on the flip side, says Bill, to Happy Chappie's point. Agree, we should be cautious. It's okay to be a bit excited. I think now it seems to have some legs for it. Absolutely right. I hope the takeover doesn't upset the apple cart like with Wilder. I don't like that the return list isn't out, says Andrew. Mark, who's joined us on the fitness journey up the Blades and up the healthy Ramblers, Jimmy. Yes. I feel so much pressure about that, It's probably what I need in it to kick myself up the backside. Johnny Sherbert says, I just hope they don't take loans out to buy the club like the Yanks did at Man U. Yeah, that's right. There's been precedents set for poor American ownership and decent American ownership as well, aren't they? Look at Liverpool as well. Really great example with Ipswich. Does this affect the negotiations with player out of contract? I think it probably does, Brad, and I think that's what the delay is with the retained list, personally, and that's just an opinion. McBurney and Egan, when do their contracts officially expire? In about 5 weeks, end of June. And are they free to sign with other clubs? Yes, there will be. There will be. We've got, I don't know if it's official, but Egan, I think we've got an option on. Slits, I'm jumping over it, mate. Love your opinion. You're always entitled, but you have been strong on that, and I think we understood where you're coming from. Then Blades are going to be a force next season, says Nathan. Love that positivity, pal. Think McBurney has done well myself, says Robin, but it's getting him fit that's the issue and keeping him fit. When fit, he's arguably been our best player. Evening, Jimmy, says Ian. Great summary of where we seem to be up to in the process. Thank you, mate. Hopefully we get a few more encouraging signs in the next week. So up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe for the latest news. Love that. Love that. Thank you, mate. Jimmy, you're doing fantastic. Just needs a tweak. Limit every phone to a certain amount of time. You don't have some on long and others seem to be on ages. This is just an observation. Andrew, thank you for that feedback, pal. Yeah, I think it does need some refining the phone in. I noticed that some get longer than others and things like that. I'm not necessarily going to set a time limit, but I know what you mean. We might do it a different way next season, but I do like giving people the opportunity to actually physically speak on it. We might have a cameras on rule because I think I don't want to limit who comes on, but I think that's more engaging for the viewer as well, if you can see both of us on screen at the same time. Stu says, Matt SB has had his funding stopped. Be careful, dude. Yeah, I'm a casual watcher of Matt SB, but obviously support anybody else on the platform. Matt SB is a football, for those not aware, he's a football YouTuber who is a Coventry fan. So I might try and see if I can speak to him about the Coventry game next season. But he covers all the championship, I believe. And he's just been demonetized and he's not really sure why. He thinks hopefully it's a mistake and it's his full-time job. So hopefully Matt gets back on his feet. If there's any sort of petitions or anything like that you're aware of, let me know and I'm happy to jump on and show my support as well and anybody else wants to. Love yous, says Davey. Been following you since the 8-0. Thank you, mate. Yeah, well, at least every cloud. Every cloud. Personally, don't think the players want to come to United. They will, says Bill, and it'll be fine. Come on, you Blade, says Steve 24. All I want to know is who's staying, who's going, who's coming in, get season started, watch them Blades playing again. Fresh team, hopefully a good new start. Absolutely right. Evening, Jimmy, says Andy. Hope it's signed, sealed quick so we can start the rebuild transfer-wise with Chris in charge. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Come on, you red and white wizard. Where's Andy the Blade? And what does he think? Where are you, Andy the Blade? Where are you? Where are you? He says, I'm not coming on yet. There's no to talk about. No to talk about. No to talk about. No. He don't want to lose his luster, I think. That's what it is. Because people keep clamoring for him. And if he just turns up on odd occasion, then there's a special attraction, I think is what they call it. He's coming on more next season. He's agreed to it. I've got a verbal agreement in place. You can't deny it. There's witnesses. Could McBurney have been delaying his decision until he knew Leeds' fate, heavily linked with them? Yes, great point, Luke. This was rumoured before the playoff final that if Leeds went up, then McBurney would re-sign with Sheffield United. A lot of people thought he was stalling to see if Leeds went up or not because Leeds are going to offer him a deal if they stay down because he's free, and then they can let one of their big hitters like Bamford go. So we'll see, won't we? We'll see if it affects McBurney directly. If he rocks up at Leeds, we know there were legs to that rumour. Liam says, fingers crossed it all goes through, pal. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, Jim. Thank you, mate. Yeah, let's hope it goes through if it's a positive thing. If it's positive. Always a bit wary with takeovers and hope it doesn't drag on and affect recruitment. Me too, Andy. Me too, mate. Mr. V, good evening, pal. Rejoined our Platinum Ramblers. Great to have you back, mate. Having the Prince as a minority owner to me says, steady the ship and gives more confidence and calms my nerves a little bit, although I'm still leery. Hi, Dave of Consortiums. Dave Leary. It smells amazing. Smells. I hope there's not too many new people in here that don't understand that, but you'll have to go back and watch some previous Rambles to get that reference. Stevie Holmes, Elite Rambler. Let's hope on the 14th of June we're taking over and ready for business. Yes, because that is the opening of the transfer window, I think, isn't it, Steve? I think that's why you're referring to that date specifically. David Vinter hopes that Prince Abdullah keeps a stake. Seems to have our interest at heart. I think Leeds and Burnley are in a worse position than us. Let's keep the faith and go again with no VAR. Thank God. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Slicks comes in with an half positive comment. Drake has been spotted on the moor with Elon and Bezos. Jeff Bezos. They must be part of the investment group. Yeah, I think they are. Middledale, good evening, pal. I don't think you've commented for a while. You might have answered it already, but I've just come. Is it a full takeover or just a majority takeover in the Prince will still? We don't know. That's part of the speculation. And I think most of us, and unless you think differently, are leaning towards hopefully the Prince stays. Because I think not only does it help with the transition, but it also shows confidence in the new ownership. Because if they're to tank, then your remaining ownership value goes down. So he must have faith in them if he wants to retain a stake. But it's, how often does that happen? Not very often. But I know that was one of the options that he put on the table when we had our interview earlier in the year. Is this a legit opportunity, says G-Blade, or is it another Tingo mobile? Just something the Prince can give us as another reason not to invest. Oh, the skepticism. I think there's legs to this one. I think there's legs to it, G-Blade. But we don't know, in all honesty. So you're right to be skeptical. And it's very understandable that people are. Middledale says new owners normally give the current manager a chance before taking their new path. I hope so. I was all right till I came onto this stream, and then there's been about 5 or 6 people saying, do you think they'll sack Wilder? Do you think they'll sack him? I hadn't really. But, you never know, do you? It's such an unknown quantity. They might not fancy him. Action location, Michael Cooper, only days away. Jimmy, keep the faith. I'd love to, mate. I've heard, though, that I think it was Nixon that reported this morning. Rooney wants him to be first signing for Plymouth in terms of signing up a new long-term deal. He clearly sees the value in him that we do. He says he can't invest as a takeover is imminent. Takeover never materializes, and we start next season with a bunch of kids. We will be very busy this summer. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I know what you're saying, though. That's what people think what some people think it's a smokescreen for. Any news on the return list? I'm getting sick of waiting. No, but everybody knows at the club. Everybody knows what the situation is. So it's more a formality now than anything else. I just think we're probably waiting to tie up some contracts, pal, to be honest. Steve Cooper won't drop into the EFL. He'll wait for a Premier League job. I understand Chris. He's worked in the Premier League, but I don't think he'll get a Prem job personally. Who's going to take Steve Cooper in that league? Kieran McKenna's staying at Ipswich. They're probably the lowest profile club in the league now. Corberan's going to go to Leicester when their manager goes to Chelsea. I don't think Cooper gets a Prem job, and I think your next natural step down is a club with a strong chance of being promoted, and I think he would certainly be interested in Sheffield United job. If there was a job going, and there isn't. Slits hates the fact that the club doesn't address anything. But what are they going to say? It's tricky, isn't it? You can't always win. Most clubs don't address anything until it's a done thing, though. Just have to be patient, says Bill. The voice of reason, Billy Sir. What are the current players you've seen linked with us? We are reliable sources. I've seen nothing in a while. And Jebison has been on holiday. Is that a bad sign for him signing a new deal? No, he doesn't have to be in the country for his agent to tie up the deal and things like that. So that doesn't affect anything in terms of negotiations. In terms of current players I've seen linked with us, it's the usual names that we've already seen, that nothing's really changed, but it feels like there's a bit of a freeze on activity while we're in this moment of uncertainty. I don't know. It's all a little bit up in the air at the minute, but we'll be cracking on with our videos soon. I can't wait for the club much longer. I'm just going to have to do it. I think West Brom might have to unload a few. Was mentioned last season, promotion was a must regarding finances. Yeah, they're skint, aren't they? Agree on the long throws. Can't remember us profiting from one. Yeah, I don't think we have. It's a ball into the box, which is always a percentage-wise, it's a danger, isn't it? But we very rarely benefit from them. Okay, Hate the Prince has not addressed anything about the club in the 23-24 season. Not thanks to everyone who showed up to every battering we took. I think that's a bit fair enough if you want that. If you want Prince to come out and say thank you, we were rubbish this season and thank you for it. But it's more the manager's job, which I think he's done week in, week out, to be honest. Kelly says, let's hope it's true. If it's going to be a good thing. Neil says, Jimmy, I'd get rid of coloured boots and go for Kiefer Moore. He was a bit of a player, only 18 games. He was a bit player, only 18 games at Ipswich. I think, mate, he joined in January. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he joined Ipswich in January. So that'll be why he's only played 18 games. And I'm pretty sure that if he's available, now that Kieran McKenna's staying with Ipswich, I think they'll sign him. Howdy, partner, says Danny. Up the blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe. How are the lads? Do the great unwashed. Okay. What striker would you go for? Would love to get BBD back or Akpom. We're not going to get neither of them. Akpom's sort of turned it round a bit at Ajax last I'd seen, which were a while ago, admittedly. Brereton Diaz. If he doesn't get back in at Villarreal, he'll be in the Premier League next season. David Webster, good evening. Who says nobody knows who it is? Watch out for the name Sundar Pichai. Isn't a smokescreen. Do grow up, people. No, I don't think it's a smokescreen either, Mr. Webster. That is the Google CEO that we talked about at the top of the stream, though, and I heavily doubt it's him. Heavily doubt it. Sheila Green with the 2 thumbs up. Thank you very much. Hope you're good, Jimmy. I'm good, thanks, Con. Hope you are, pal. Wendy's are going to have to start using Bing instead of Google. They'll always add revenue money up the blades, up the ramble. I hope it is the Google CEO. Can you imagine? It's not, I don't think. We are in tier 1.5 with Burnley, Leeds, Ipswich, Leicester, Luton and Saints. There's a cliff edge above us and below us, says Joe. Yeah, very astute that. I'd probably think Leicester and Southampton are out of that. But yeah, I think you're right. New subscriber, says Sheila. Don't know how my wife's name has popped up, Dave. Nice, Dave. Thank you, pal. I'm just going to have to call you Sheila from now on, though. Appreciate the support, mate. Predictions for us next season, Jim, says Luke. Very early, pal, that. Very early. We're going to have a completely new squad, but I don't know. Let's say second. Why not? Probably first by the time we've done a summer business under Chris Wilder. Illiman and Brereton Diaz up front together, I can only dream. Absolutely, can't we all, pal? I'll believe it when it actually happens, says Kazuya Dog. Have you heard how the due diligence is going with the EFL? No, only what I've read out today, and I won't read it again because it took me some time to read it. But Gary wants Potter, so do I. Well, Pep's leaving Man City at the end of next season, isn't he? Let's get him in as well. Get Ted Lasso in, says Sam. There's going to be a few shouts like this, isn't there? Different like, speeds like. And that's Leeds that you're referring to. Yeah, nice. I didn't like him either. David Megamind Webster's rocked up. Hey, he's all right, he's Dave Webster. Don't you be doing that, Bill? Because he says, do you want info or not? There you go. Consider yourself told. He's David Webster, for those that aren't regulars here, is a very anti-Chris Wilder, which obviously rubs up the wrong way with my opinion on that, but he's entitled to it. He's entitled to it. Joe says, Moyes who won a European Cup last year, he's not going to drop to champ. Cooper, I think, would come. Corberan would be an upgrade. Well, not an upgrade on Wilder. It would be an upgrade for him coming to United from West Brom in our current positions. But it looks like he's the one going to Leicester to replace Maresca, which is good because it weakens West Brom. Simon says, hi, Jimmy. How are you, dude? Where are we on the list of players? What are we saying? Love the channel, up the blade. Thank you, mate. Love your support. As I said, I know I've touched on that a few times now, but we're still waiting on return list. Sundar Pichai was, I hope I'm saying his name right because I've no idea how to do it, was a rumour started by a Blades fan account on Twitter. He's not been verified or corroborated by any reputable external source. Twitter noise at the moment, and that's all it is, says Bill. Jez says the investors could be enthusiastic. Just because they're not movie stars doesn't mean they don't want to enjoy the fruits of their wealth. They will want to see us do well if so. Otherwise, to make money, they would have to make us an attractive saleable asset. Either way, we benefit. That's the way I am choosing to view it, Jez, and a great point, pal. There is a certain American manager, ex-Leeds, who is out of work, says Dave Morwood. No, Jesse Marsh is the current Canada manager, I'm led to believe. This is all designed by the owner to deflect from him having to spend on new players. It will all go on in the summer when out of the blue we'll sell Blaster very nearly the close of the window. Abdullah has form. I don't want to think about selling Blaster. Look, this is a positive stream tonight. We're not thinking about selling Blaster or Gus. Steve Bruce, come on, man. How? Doesn't go down there like. Does Andy the Blade know Des Taylor? If so, what's his feelings about it? I haven't spoken to him about him, actually. I'll have to catch up with him about it. Prince is staying on at least for now, says David Webster. Des Taylor to have a prominent position. Hopefully Wilder will have another tantrum and go. Clueless Chris. Billy, I know a little more than you. You may not like that, but it happens to be the case, says David Webster. Sorry. Leeds fan here says, Liam, enjoy other content from other clubs' fans, and yours is no different. Leeds' debt isn't as bad as it sounds. Think our ownership model will be similar. We've got Buddy the Elf on the books. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Will Ferrell's here, isn't it? Liam, thank you for coming across, mate. Very much appreciated. I am not a Leeds fan by any means, and I'm sure you're not, leaning towards the Blades in any way, but I'm hoping to have a bit of collaboration with some of your channels next season because it is a local rivalry for me. I'm from West Yorkshire, so I'm in Wakefield currently. People wanted Prince Abdullah to leave as soon as physically possible, says Bobby. But now wanting to nitpick about who owns us. Can't have it both ways. Hey, this is the Blades. We can have it any way we want it. We can have our cake and eat it. You're right, though, mate. You're right. Bang on. Ipswich being better basically means is there's always going to mean there's a one-off team out. Do you know what Ipswich have done, though, Joe? Ipswich have booked the trend, haven't they? Because if it weren't for Kieran McKenna and Ipswich, the top three in the Championship would have been Leicester, Leeds and Southampton, who were a country mile away from the rest of the league, other than Ipswich, obviously. And that just shows the gulf, doesn't it? Because that would have been the top three relegated teams and the bottom three promoted teams. It's Ipswich have been the only ones to book the trend out of that. Jimmy, your idea of identity is not mine. Please speak for yourself. Oh, apologies. I always speak for myself, David. Don't worry. That's what I would like. Please speak for yourself. All this one of our own up and atom underdog inverted snobbery stuff is so last century. We have the least sophisticated fans. Well, I do apologise. Oh, in the land. The least sophisticated fans in the land. And he asks Billy, what contacts do you have? Ginny Reid, says our Geordie friend. I love that accent, by the way. I just can't do it. I think John Percy is the most credible journo going. Fair dues, Blades boxing. Fair dues. And add to his credibility all you like, because if it's true, then it means it's happening, doesn't it? So, howdy, partners, says Paul. Just a thought, has this been going on since the other company to Sellers was involved by Prince Abdullah with how far it seems to be. Need some grit back in the team, so togetherness, some fight. Don't be speaking for David Webster, though. What contacts do you have, David? Divulge them or shut up. Simple, really. Listen, lads, let's calm. Let's calm. We're all friends here. We're all Blades, aren't we? James Mattimore says the Star has put us at 5-1 to return to the Prem without investment. And Chris, that's not happening. But with investment and with Chris, is it happening? I think 5-1 looks decent to me. American Takeover. Hope they're not like the Glazers. I hope so too, pal. I don't think they will be. I know we have a big rebuild on the horizon, but if you were allowed 3 marquee signings, which positions would you use them to fill? Okay. Goalkeeper. Permanent goalkeeper I'd go for as a marquee signing, and I'm talking Henderson-esque. We're not going to get Dean Henderson, nor am I saying that would be my shout, but we need a strong Mike Cooper for me. I think we need a dominant centre half. I think we're strong in centre midfield, but I would love a left wing back that we can rely on. Somebody like a Harrison Burrows that has been talked about previously, but somebody that can be with the club, George Baldock style, for like 6-7 years and do us a job like that. I would make those my priority positions, because I think a striker, you can always get on loan from the Premier League, and it's going to cost too much of a budget to get them in permanently. But those would be my 3 marquee positions, and I'm not giving any more away about my rebuild. Is Messi free next summer? Or the Ramble, keep up the top work, mate. Thank you, pal. Apparently, McBurney's off to Borough. No chance, right? I saw that same message going around, Luke. I wouldn't have thought so, but I wouldn't put it past him. He's not going to get a Prem move, so he may well stay in the Championship if he doesn't sign on with us. Oh my word! Can't believe anything anymore with this club, says Scott. Absolutely right, mate. I know. Any news on the training ground at Door? No, nothing, Gaz. I think it's more plans are submitted. Didn't they say it were going to be ending next season, that anything would start really moving with that? So nothing imminent as far as I'm aware, mate. Hope this all works out quickly. Time means missed players. Absolutely, Brett, it does. We talked about that as well, haven't we? Who knows, with a cash injection, maybe Illiman comes back. One can hope, says I Am Blade. That is wishful thinking, pal. Billy's been released from Hull. Will we see him back at the lane, says Paul. Some will hope so. Others, like Jimmy, will hope not. Yeah, I hope not. Certainly not on the field. If he's going to hang him up, then sign him up tomorrow. But yeah, you can't look back at brilliant players for us in the past with rose-tinted glasses and remember them as the player they were. Billy Sharp wasn't doing the business for us in the Championship season before this one. Rumour has it Galatasaray are after Hamer. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. He'll have interest, Will Gus, and we know he's got a release clause. So again, like Andy the Blade says, if you can't do anything about it, no point worrying about it. But that'll be a significant addition to our pot. I don't even want to think about it. It upsets me to think that. Big shout out to Orla Valance, who's just joined the fitness challenge. Shout out Orla. Not too late for everyone else, says Stevie Boy. Normal People Fitness Club. Shaw Slits is a Forest fan. Maybe so. We want the organ grinder, Andy the Blade, not the monkey. Paul, you're a platinum rambler. You're in the trusted inner circle, and you come on here and abuse me like this. Really wanted to see the legend that is TC, but I'm housebound with the man flu. Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry about that. TC. Oh, yeah. Wasn't there a do with TC? Yeah. Might have missed that. Promotion. Will Socket and friends. You're my friend, Will. Promotion push continues today. I'm expecting that comment to come up fairly regular throughout next season. Joe, have to have a big window, he says. They need to come in and make an impact. Splash some money. Can't afford to be slow when they come in. Corn Dogs on the Cop. Documentary on Netflix in Europe in 3 years. Wow, that is optimism, pal. Charlie, good evening. Hi, Jimmy. Don't worry about getting healthy, as if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Together we can do it. Yes, we can, Charlie. We're in this together. Yes, we are. All Blades. Middle Dill, do we have an update on where Macedo and Peck have gone? They both went missing as soon as that. Two 19-year-old Premier League players' storyline came out. Doesn't look good. Hopefully they're not involved. Yeah, not one to comment on, is it? Well, things are up in the air. Yeah, they've disappeared, haven't they, from the picture, and nothing's been confirmed. So we'll wait and hear what comes out with that. And like you say, hopefully it's not as bad as it sounds. So United are worth the same as Grealish. Yeah, maybe so. Keep Trusty as a cheerleader. Yanks will love it. Charlie says it was a silly decision to get rid of Osborne. We need to sign at least 12 new players, whereas he could play in 4 or 5 positions, would have saved a lot of money. I get that, Charlie, but would he be a starter for you? I understand what you mean in terms of squad build. He'd be a good squad player and an option to have to fit in different positions. I just think that hopefully it's been made with an eye on better players coming in. And if that's the case, then I'm all for it. Us not releasing the retain list by now makes no sense. The club have already handed it in, so don't get what's stopping it. Normally, if they're negotiating, they just put that on the retain list. I know. It's the only thing I can think of, Middledale, that they want to be able to announce a contract being signed, but there's no other reason, is there? Just get it out. Are you logged into your wife's email account? That's probably why it's showing up as her, Sheila. Sounds like Lampard's in the frame for Burnley. Can you imagine? I heard Lampard and Scott Parker. Brilliant. Get them in to Burnley. Can you imagine the Google banner with the Blades badge plastered all over it? Oh, my word. Don't get me excited about Google, because I don't think it's the Google man. According to the Stir, new owners are already working behind the scenes at the lane. It sounds like it, though, doesn't it? If they've got some involvement in the transfers that have been going on, or prospective transfers, it does sound like that. If there's a team in the Championship you'd want to beat more than any other, which would it be? It's Leeds for me. It's Leeds. Just because of where I am now, I've grown up around Leeds fans giving me stick, the entitlement. And I'm not saying it like it's a Leeds fan dropped into our chat tonight who seems perfectly reasonable. But in general, the lads I know anyway are an absolute nightmare. New training ground, hotel getting done up, land bought behind the cop, and now new investors reckon this is all linked, pal. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Yeah, I do, Bri. I do. I think that makes sense, doesn't it, that as to why we've been tying everything together quite neatly. It's a nice, attractive package to invest in now, isn't it? The people who are trying to take over is confidential, says Aaron. Absolutely right. It is. Jimmy, if CW goes, let's get Monty in. Monty's just been sacked by Hibs. It's a no from me, Neil. It's a no from me. Hi, Jimmy. Big call out and congrats for the under-21s. The future's bright, says Paul. It's red and white. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe from a Blade in Spain. Hope you're doing well, mate. Jimmy, are you happy to not have VAR in the Championship? I'm over the moon, pal. Absolutely over the moon. And I hope you are too, because I think it's just not been implemented well, has it? Have you seen Camacho's new hair colour? Yeah, he's bleached his hair, hasn't he? Gone blonde, suits him as well. To be fair, I like it. But I like Camacho, don't I? We all know that. I do hope we can keep him in some way we can, mate, and have a full season with him to get him going again in the champ. I would love it, Connor. I think he is a bit of a cheat code in the Championship, which is why we're so keen on getting him in Prem. Didn't happen for him for whatever reason, but we're not getting him back. Galatasaray is closely following Brazilian Dutch midfielder Gus Hamer, who bid farewell to the Premier League with Sheffield United. The player has serious suitors from all over Europe. It's not a surprise, though, is it, Scotty? Not a surprise, pal. Will the Blades go down the loan market next season or buy players? Both. We can loan up to 5 Premier League players now, as opposed to 2 last season. We will definitely be using that market. But I'd like us to have some solid additions to the squad as well, pal. We're coming to the end of our comments now, so thank you to everybody that's joined us tonight. You've not mentioned Archer for ages, Paul. Fair. Billy Sharps wanted to buy Donny again, but has interest from Grimsby, but they won't afford his wages. I'd love him to go to Donny again. I think that's a nice little bow. If he has a successful season, maybe gets Donny promoted. I think they'll go well next season, Donny. They had a great turnaround, didn't they, under McCann. Can't wait until the transfer window comes, and hopefully when this takeover is done, I really hope they are good for the club and we can get some exciting players in and young players out on loan. Up the Blades. May I suggest Middledale and others avoid these sort of inquiries? Don't know what that's referring to. I think Billy Sharp would be a good move, even if he only had 5 minutes on the pitch, but he would be great in the dressing room. That's why I'd want him on the staff, Andrew, but not on the playing squad, mate. Not for me, anyway. Can't. No. Ordinarily, I'd say no, I wouldn't start Osborne, but he's a really good Championship player. Premier League was way out of his depth, though. If we stayed up, I'd agree on releasing him. Fair points. I don't think Lampard would actually be that bad, to be fair. I think he's done well at all 3 of his clubs. Look like they're getting Van Nistelrooy, which would be good for them. He's done well, Van Nistelrooy. That's Burnley that he's referring to there. But Burnley would be perfect for Rangers. He could well go to Rangers. He's a fan of them. Michael Brown says, Jimmy, I thought it would be the Owls that are the team you would want to beat more than any other, as they are the Blades' local rivals. Yes, they are, pal, but my local rivals are Leeds. Obviously, I can't stand the other side of the city in terms of the blue side. They're a close second, but for me, growing up where I have, it's Leeds. Sounds to me that this is nearly done with them having a say so on Osborne, says Matt. Well, that's what's been implied, isn't it? Have some faith, Blades. So many negative fans up the Blades, up the Ramble. We get all sorts, mate, don't we? If the takeover doesn't happen, where will we be? Up the Blades, up the Ramble. That's true. That's true. And just before we finish, I've just seen something pop up, and it's Ollie McBurney. So this is in response to the tweet that I've referred to a little bit, but now because McBurney's replied to it, let's give it a bit of context. So a kid called Finlay on Twitter or X has said, Blades, don't shoot the messenger, and then posted a screenshot that his dad's of a message that he's been sending back and forth to his dad. So Finlay said to his dad, Senior ain't our player now. Got to be good players to wear that. He's on about Archer's haircut. And his dad said, went to Garforth Gym before work. McBurney's dad goes there. Said the contract offer is rubbish. Got other offers, but similar value. Doesn't want to move from Leeds. I think he's off to Borough. That's where we've all got the Borough thing from, or where some people have got the Borough thing from. McBurney has just replied saying, one of our dads is lying, pal. So there you go. He's poured cold water on that rumour straight away. And Scott says this, Ollie McBurney's just confirmed the Borough move is bull. What do you reckon? Sue's likely going? Yes, I think he will go, Charlie. I think he will. I hope so as well. When does the Championship fixture list 24-25 get released? 26th of June, I believe. 26th of June, I think. And does McBurney search for his own name on Twitter, says Bobby. Maybe so. Maybe so. Or there's just been so much activity around that tweet that somebody's brought it to his attention, to be fair. So, thank you again for another extended chat. We've had significantly over 500 people stay with us throughout, and I'm very appreciative of that. If you do like what we do, then please do consider liking the video and subscribing to keep us growing. As I said at the top of the program, what am I on about? Who am I? At the top of the stream, there is a chance that this becomes a bit of a future for us in terms of a full-time gig. With that, spreading the sort of creativity and not necessarily just Sheffield United based, we're going to be moving some stuff over to our second channel that we haven't really had a focus on, but that'll be where we're looking to stream some of the Euros. If people are interested in that, come and join us over there at Jimmy Ramble. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade!